Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics this Sunday morning. We want to update the situation concerning the investigation of deaths at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Clarksburg. Joining me this morning is Tony Odell. He is an attorney for 8 of the families in this case. Great to see you again, Tony. Where do we stand? Well, first of all, you gave us a whole bunch of documents last week. In a nutshell, what do these documents tell us about your client, the Hallman family? John Hallman was one of the people who died at the VA. What are these documents telling us?
These documents are telling you that he went in for a very correctable condition, which was a partial bowel obstruction. So that's something that can be cured very easily in the hospital, that he would have been coming out. So he was a fairly healthy guy. John Hallman actually lived independently. He was not, there was nothing, no dementia, no anything like that. He had just bought some property, so he was a pretty healthy guy.
He was 96, if I'm not mistaken.
He was 96, yeah. And but he was doing well. And then it also tells you that we have the sudden hypoglycemic event, which is the hallmark of these cases. We have, for the first time, we're reporting that the person of interest was the person in the room taking the glucose levels, the blood sugar levels. So we know that she was interacting with the family while Mr. Hallman lay dying.
We've got to talk about her a little bit. We know her name, but we're not going to disclose it because she's yet to be criminally charged. But why was she terminated by the VA?
It has been reported that she indicated she was a certified nursing assistant, when in fact she was not a certified nursing assistant. And she was fired not for what she did to these veterans, but fired for lying on her resume.
Okay, because we have been saying she was known to be a CNA, and so you're telling us, as far as you know, she was not.
As far as we know, she had no medical education whatsoever and was hired there.
In these documents, you have indications that she was taking blood sugar levels on some of these patients. And I'm a diabetic, and a couple times a day you test your blood sugar. If it's low, you eat something. But was she qualified to be doing that?
If she doesn't have any medical education or training in that, she shouldn't be doing anything with these patients, actually. Maybe changing a bedpan or something like that.
Well, you know, this just screams incompetence maybe of the VA. Wasn't she properly vetted or screened, or didn't they do a background check? Or,
you know, we don't have the ability to do discovery to put them under oath and find out what happened, but that would be something very, very simple to verify. One, ask them for their certificate. You have your certification where you got the education, or you can check with the state because you have to actually get your certification, and so there's actually ways to verify that, which means they absolutely didn't do anything.
U.S. Senator Joe Manchin this week told me in a very provocative statement, he says this is ridiculous. Everybody knows this lady's name. They know what she's alleged to have done. Why is she not in custody? He's basically saying there's enough evidence out there in his mind that she should be arrested now. Maybe for the first 2 or 3 homicides, but we could have a dozen total.
You know, for a criminal investigation, you have to have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. So I'm assuming that Bill Powell is building a very strong case against this person. And what I'm hoping is that the evidence is so strong that perhaps they're actually working on either a plea agreement or some type of information where there's an end to it when there's an arrest.
Okay, the criminal charges aside, and we fully expect that at some point she's going to be charged in this based on the information we have. What about the systemic part of this, the failures in proper procedures and so forth at the VA? Is that a whole separate issue, and how do you want that handled?
That's what's amazing and kind of discouraging in this case, is that we know they hired someone that wasn't qualified. They had insulin, which is a high-risk medication, just out for anyone, including the public. Anyone that visited the floor could get their hands on insulin. So that's a violation of their policy. We have their failure to recognize that these are sentinel events, which in hospital terms, that means that there's an unexplainable medical condition which requires the hospital to find out why this happened, do a root cause. And then we also know that there's also a window of time they could have been treating these veterans for insulin overdose to reverse what was happening to them. They made no effort to do that. And then if you look in their medical records, there's criteria for when an autopsy is required. The criteria are checked 2 or 3 times in these cases, but autopsies were not ordered. So it's complete system failure over and over, and the people who allowed this to happen are still in charge. And don't forget, Mark, this is a hospital who had manipulated wait times for veterans before and tried to cover it up, and also had been, there was a report where they were documented for not noticing their sentinel events and reporting them the way they should be.
All right, well, this is a story we're going to continue to keep on top of because there are so many developments. Again, we want to thank attorney Tony Odell, who represents 8 of the families, the victims' families, in the VA hospital deaths in Clarksburg. We'll be back with more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break. Stay with us.